The man who has done the most damage to your life is you. Not your parents, not the people who betrayed you, not the circumstances that shaped you. Them. All of them contributed. All of them had their hand in what you have become. But the final damage, the sustained, daily, systematic damage that has produced the specific shape of your current existence, that was not done to you. That was done by you, to yourself, with a consistency and thoroughness that no external enemy could ever match. You have been the most dangerous man in your life since you were old enough to choose. Every time you suppressed a genuine response because expressing it felt unsafe, that was you choosing against yourself. Every time you buried a real desire because pursuing it would have required courage you were not willing to generate, that was you. Every time you silenced a truth because speaking it would have disrupted the comfortable construction of your life, you silenced it. Nobody did that for you. You did that. And you have been doing it with such regularity that the pattern has become invisible to you. The damage you have done to yourself is not dramatic. That is precisely what makes it dangerous. Carl Jung understood that the deepest psychological violence a man performs is almost always self-inflicted, not through obvious self-destruction, through the accumulated small betrayals of the self that no one else witnesses. The desire he abandoned because it threatened the persona, the anger he swallowed because expressing it would have exposed something unacceptable, the genuine self that he suppressed decade after decade to maintain the version of himself that the world would accept. The external world did not do this to you. It provided the conditions. You did the work. This is the truth most men cannot afford to face, because facing it means accepting responsibility for a life that was not fully forced upon you, a life you participated in constructing. The parts of your existence you hate most were not entirely inflicted on you. Many of them were maintained by you, defended by you, kept in place by you, through the thousands of small daily choices that collectively produced the exact shape of your current reality. Nietzsche diagnosed the mechanism behind this with devastating precision. He understood that men will blame anyone and everyone before they will examine their own participation in their suffering. Parents, partners, bosses, circumstances, society. Every available external source is interrogated for culpability before the internal actor, the man himself, is ever considered as a primary cause. This is not random. This is a specific psychological defense. Because if the damage was done by external forces, the man is a victim, and victimhood carries a strange comfort. It absolves responsibility. It explains the current state of the life without requiring the man to examine his own role in producing it. But if the damage was done by the man himself, then the implications are intolerable. He cannot blame his way out. He cannot locate an external enemy. He has to face the possibility that the enemy has always been operating from inside his own skull. Most men will spend decades blaming external causes before they accept this. Many will never accept it. Machiavelli understood that the most dangerous adversary is not the one you can see. It is the one operating from inside your own camp, wearing your uniform, speaking your language, making decisions that appear to serve you while actually undermining you. The false self is exactly this kind of adversary. It presents itself as you. It speaks with your voice. It makes decisions on your behalf and delivers them as your own authentic choices. And it has been sabotaging you for as long as you have been alive. Consider the specific patterns of self-sabotage operating in your life right now. The way you approach something meaningful to you, and then, precisely at the moment it becomes real, you undermine it. The way you build something promising, and then, without any conscious intention, you destroy the conditions that made it possible. The way you step toward a version of yourself you actually want to become, and then, reliably, predictably, you retreat before you arrive. This is not bad luck. This is not circumstance. This is the false self operating as designed, protecting itself, protecting the current construction, even when the construction is killing you. The false self is not trying to destroy you. It is trying to preserve itself. Your destruction is a side effect. You have been carrying this saboteur inside you for decades. It was built from the specific fears of a child who needed to manage a specific environment. That environment no longer exists. The child is no longer the reality, but the saboteur remains, running the same protection programs on a life that no longer resembles the one they were designed for, producing the same avoidance behaviors, undermining the same opportunities, protecting you from threats that have not existed for years. It is the most dangerous man in your life, and you have been providing it with food, shelter, and operating authority for as long as you can remember. Schopenhauer saw this with characteristic clarity. He understood that the unconscious will, the pre-rational force beneath conscious thought, is not a neutral driver of behavior. It has specific objectives. It pursues specific outcomes, and those outcomes are not always aligned with what the conscious self would choose if given full information. The man who believes he is acting from genuine motivation is almost always being operated by machinery he has never examined. Machinery that has its own agenda, produces its own justifications, and delivers its actions to the conscious mind as if the conscious mind had chosen them. You did not choose most of your current life. The machinery chose. You ratified. This is the uncomfortable mathematical truth of the unexamined life. You are responsible for a life you did not fully choose, produced through decisions you did not fully make, by a self you have never fully examined. The only way out of this condition is the specific psychological work of separating the conscious self from the machinery that has been operating in its name. Most men will not perform this work. The machinery ensures they do not. It generates justifications for why the examination is unnecessary. It produces exhaustion precisely when the examination begins. It recruits the man's intelligence in service of its own preservation. It is, quite literally, protecting itself from you. This is the most disorienting realization available to a man, that inside his own psyche there is an entity operating with its own agenda that is not fully aligned with his conscious interests, that this entity has been making decisions in his name for decades, that what he has called his life is partly the life this entity wanted him to have, and that separating from this entity, gaining the capacity to observe it rather than be it, is the most demanding psychological work any man can undertake. Marcus Aurelius returned to this problem relentlessly in his private meditations. He understood that the enemy worth fighting was never the external circumstance. The external circumstance might contain threats and difficulties, but the real battleground was always internal. The specific capacity to see one's own mind clearly, to distinguish between genuine values and inherited reactions, between authentic desires and conditioned pursuits, between conscious decisions and the machinery's output presented as conscious decisions. This was the work that determined whether a man lived his own life or merely performed one on behalf of forces he had never examined. Most men perform. They do not live. You can observe the most dangerous man in your life operating in every moment of your existence. He is the one who talks you out of the thing that would expose you to growth. He is the one who explains why the safe choice is the rational choice every time something demanding approaches. He is the one who generates the specific exhaustion that arrives whenever you consider examining him. He is the one who maintains the construction with such efficiency that the possibility of anything different never quite surfaces long enough to demand an answer. He has been your daily companion since childhood. You have mistaken him for yourself. The cost of this mistake is not abstract. It is measured in the specific life you are currently living versus the life that was possible if the saboteur had been recognized and separated from rather than accepted as identity. The relationships that ended the way they ended, the opportunities that collapsed the way they collapsed, the version of yourself you stopped becoming because the saboteur did not permit the becoming. None of this was done by strangers. All of it was done by you, operating as the false self that has been presenting itself to you as you. Jung understood that this recognition, the recognition that the damage is self-inflicted, is the entry point to genuine psychological work. Not because self-blame is productive, it is not, but because the recognition breaks the external victim narrative that has protected the false self from examination. Once the man sees that he is his own enemy, he can begin the slower work of understanding the specific mechanisms of the enemy's operation. He can begin to observe rather than be. He can begin to separate. Most men cannot tolerate this recognition for more than a few minutes before the false self reasserts the external blame narrative. It does this efficiently. It produces legitimate seeming reasons why the blame actually does belong elsewhere. It surfaces memories of genuine injustices and uses them to redirect attention away from internal examination. It recruits the man's intelligence to construct sophisticated arguments for why his current situation is not primarily his own production. All of this feels like honest self-assessment. None of it is. It is the false self's survival protocol, operating as designed. You will experience this protocol operating as you hear these words. The voice that is already explaining why this does not apply to you, why your situation is different, why the external causes are primary in your case. That voice is the most dangerous man in your life. It has convinced you that acknowledging your own participation in producing your life is somehow the same as absolving everyone else. It is not. Other people's contributions to your damage are real. Their responsibility for their own actions is theirs. But the portion of your current life that is maintained by you, the portion that continues because you have not stopped maintaining it, that portion is your domain, and no one else can enter it. No one else can change it. No one else can dismantle what you have been defending. The most dangerous man in your life is not a man you can escape. He operates from inside the skull you cannot leave. He has been with you since childhood. He will be with you when you die. The only question, and it is the only question that has ever mattered in a meaningful psychological sense, is whether you develop the capacity to observe him before he spends the rest of your life on his own terms, or whether you continue calling his decisions yours until there is nothing of you left to call anything. Most men call his decisions theirs until the end.